Welcome to the OC Business Update. I'm Kira Gurnee. Thank you for joining us. And if you're a wine lover, you're going to be very glad you did. My guest today is Stacey Carr, who is a WSET Level 3 Sommelier. She also has degrees in finance, international business, and an MBA. And taking all of that experience and her passion for wine, she has just started a way for you to get your hands on some really spectacular juice. Welcome to the show, Stacey. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Kira.
So tell me a little bit about your journey into wine. Obviously, you got very serious. So how did it all begin?
Yes, so it's a journey that when it was starting, I didn't realize that I was even on a journey.
As we sometimes don't, right?
Yes, I started wine tasting really towards the end of my MBA program. And I'm fortunate enough that I've been able to travel to Europe multiple times throughout my life, different countries, been able to taste some amazing French, Italian, even some Hungarian wines, some Czech wines, Spanish wines. And over the years, I slowly started realizing I like deeper and darker reds. I wasn't just drinking whites anymore. Mm-hmm. And then I moved to California. And then once I moved to California, it was then I just had, the world was suddenly open. And
that's really funny you say that. Like, you've been all over Europe and then you come to California and suddenly the world of wine opens up.
It's really
funny,
did.
Isn't it?
Yeah, because when you're traveling on vacation and you're in a place for, a few days or a week, you can only do so much. But
True.
I've lived here for 12 years now, and I've been fortunate enough to make a lot of friends here. And a lot of these friends grew up here, some of them even in wine country. And they started taking me on trips to Napa, to Sonoma, to Healdsburg, to Santa Ynez, and
These
Santa
are good
Barbara.
friends.
Yes.
Yeah. These are great friends.
These are great friends. And then I just started learning more and more and liking more and more and wanting to try more and more wines. And what I realized is you can keep wine tasting for a really long time and not even scratch the surface.
You can
in the world of wine.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there's a lot of bad wine out there. It's called, in the wine world, it's typically referred to as bulk juice.
Right, and that's what the producers do with the excess grapes, right? Or the ones that aren't quite good enough to go into their normal...
Yeah, so the excess juice that, they would get, once they do their own fermentations and they go through their own harvest processes, then a lot of them, especially the bigger winemakers, they're left with juice that they won't put in their wines. So then they put it on the market. And then there's other third parties who will buy it, take it to third-party facilities, and make and bottle wine from that juice. And you don't get me wrong, you can get some really good quality wines that are made that way, but then there is a subsection that is really just trying to make wine as cheaply as possible.
Are we talking about the $2 chuck here?
I wouldn't say that, but there are definitely ones out there where they're putting different labels on.
Right, the secondary, third label and private labels, right?
Yeah, but and again, you can get really good quality private labels. Yeah. But if you are not really educated about wine, you can also get some really bad stuff.
Speaking of education, you have gone way up there, level 3 sommelier. I didn't even realize there were levels to sommelier. So tell us about that. How does that work?
Yeah, so essentially with WSET in particular, you can start out with level 1 and not really have any background or knowledge in wine. And once you get through level 1, you'll have a base background. Mm-hmm. By the time I started with WSET, I was already at level 2. Mm-hmm. So I started, after many years of visiting all of wine country, and then I took level 2, and I just realized I like this and I want to keep going and I want to keep learning more. And then
the homework's not bad.
The homework's not bad. You have to taste the wine. You learn how to taste through wine in a systematic way. It's called the systematic approach to tasting. Mm-hmm. And you learn how to do that so that you can evaluate wines, even if it's not your own personal preference.
That's an important point, right?
Yes.
And especially as a wine buyer or somebody like yourself who is choosing all these wonderful wines for other people, you can't really let your own personal palate influence it too much.
Right. So when I'm choosing wines, I'm thinking about different palate profiles. And a lot of time, and I sort of have different friends of mine in the back of my mind, like, oh, this type of wine would be good for this person and their palate style, or this other style would be better for this other person. And I'm always trying to make sure that I have a variety that really appeals to everyone, whether you like whites or reds, rosés, heavy wine, light wine. I'm really trying to curate a good wide variety, but the one common denominator in all of them is they're super high quality. Not always the highest priced, but
that's nice.
High quality. Yeah, I'm trying to balance both value and quality, but I won't.
That means, I'm sorry to interrupt you, you can actually get a high quality wine at a decent price.
Yes.
Yeah, it just takes research, right?
Yes. It's not going to be, as cheap as some of the stuff you find on the bottom shelf of the grocery store. Yeah. That's for sure. That's the bulk juice.
Well, what do we have in front of us? Should we try one?
Yes.
What would we start with?
So whenever we're doing a wine tasting, I always like to go from left to right, and from lightest to heaviest. So the three that we have in front of us right now is we have a 2022 Maroon Napa Valley. This is Oakville Knoll District Rosé of Pinot Noir. So that's the first one. So let's taste this one, and then I'll kind of tell you about the other ones.
Yeah.
So I always like
Pretty
to just
color,
give it a good swirl, and this one definitely has that pretty pinkish, orangish,
kind of salmon.
Yeah, salmon color. Yeah. And so then you give it a good sniff. You really soak up all that flavor. There's lots of stone fruit and some berries.
Really nice.
Yeah. And then the fun part is tasting it. It's a very lovely rosé. Rosé of Pinot Noir.
That's beautiful. And I like Pinot Noir, the dark Pinot Noir. And I think that this has a lot of the characteristics that I like in the regular dark Pinot Noir.
It does.
As a rosé wine.
Yes, it definitely does.
And it's very soft. Some rosés are pretty sharp.
Yeah,
This one's very soft.
This one, it's not too acidic, but it has a lot of bright primary fruit flavors, and it's light-bodied, but still has a great flavor profile on the palate.
That is just lovely. Yeah. Wow, this definitely is an improvement on the rather bottom shelf rosé I've got in my refrigerator that I opened the other day.
Yeah, if I had my eyes closed, I would almost think that I just bit into a strawberry.
It's got a lot of that nice juicy characteristic to it.
The fruit flavors are just really nice in this one.
So how did you find this wine? Tell me about your process of discovery, how you locate these wineries and decide they should be in the wine club.
Well, it all really started with this winery. So this is a Elkhorn Peak Pinot Noir. And I discovered Elkhorn Peak, I want to say probably about 8 to 10 years ago. And it was by accident. My friend Stephanie and I were on a wine trip to Napa Valley, and we hired someone to help us pick wineries. And this person chose to send us to Elkhorn Peak. We didn't know anything about it. At that time, I don't even think that if we knew that we loved Pinot Noir as much as we do. And we ended up there, and they just made some of the best Pinot Noir that I'd ever tasted. And I became a super fan of theirs. Like, I'm really a fangirl of Elkhorn Peak. And so much so that I have gathered all the girlfriends to my house on multiple occasions, and we've done verticals.
Oh, that's nice. Now, explain a vertical. I know what it is, but somebody might not.
So a vertical is when you get as many years as you can that are as close to each other. In the case of Elkhorn Peak, I'm fortunate enough to be able to get some really old vintages of theirs. So I think the first time I did it, we were tasting from 2005 through like 2011 or 12.
That's a nice range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the second time that I did it, I think that we were tasting 2005 through like 2015. And their Pinot Noir can really stand the test of time. And a lot of Pinot Noirs, age-wise, cap out at, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. I'm still drinking their 2012, and it's 2023, and it's amazing. This is their newest release, and it's 2018. Yeah.
Was that a good year?
It was a good year in the Napa Valley. Yeah, it was a good year.
Yeah.
So
can we taste that one? Now that
yes,
we've been
so
talking
that's
about
the next wine. But this is the one that really, going back to your original question, how did I get access to some of these wines? I became friends with them over the years of being a wine club member and going there, and I started telling them for a couple years in advance that this was something I wanted to do, that I was interested in. And when I reached out and asked for some introductions, they said, not only do we have introductions for you, we have introductions to other, small winemakers, small family farms, small vineyards. And
so they hooked you up.
They really hooked me up, and it really started from that relationship, and from realizing that, hey, there's other of these tiny producers that I probably don't know anything about. Even though I go to Napa all the time, they're not the big names that are on the side of the road, and you won't find them unless you're searching for them.
You need that insider knowledge, and I think that's so true in any business, not just the wine business, like anybody's business. That's why networking, that's why having those friend relationships and getting that knowledge is great.
Yeah.
So this is beautiful.
So this is their 2018.
The nose on that.
Yeah, this is 100% estate grown fruit. They don't source fruit for their Pinot Noir. And it's really got that bright, just red fruit, red cherry, strawberry, raspberry profile. But on the palate, when you drink it, it has that primary fruit, but it also has that minerality.
There's depth.
There's depth, and that's a good way to describe what in wine school they teach you to call secondary and tertiary flavor profiles.
Exactly, the complexity we all want, right?
Yes, exactly.
We don't want just simple wine. We want something that's got something going on, right?
Yes, we want simple wines can be fine.
True.
For a daytime pool party.
Depends on the occasion, right?
Depends on the occasion, but
this is spectacular.
This is a spectacular Pinot Noir.
No wonder this started your journey.
It stands up to food. It pairs really well with a variety of foods. I love it with barbecue, steak. Typically, I don't pair Pinot Noir with steak.
I'm kind of liking it on its own.
Yeah, definitely.
But I can see the on the back end, it's got a little bit of tannins there. It's got a little bit of acidity.
Yeah.
The nice minerality, all that, with some stone in there, like really.
Yep.
I can see that going well with meat.
It's very well balanced. It goes great with a burger.
I would go for venison.
Venison, yes. Yes.
So, wow, no wonder that got you started. So tell me a little bit about Coastline Wine.
Yeah.
Like, is it a club? What is it?
Yeah, so Coastline Wine, it is a club, but I want people to be able to try it and experience it without that subscription commitment. So our primary product is a subscription. We have a quarterly club, and you can choose 3, 6, or 12 bottles. And then I'm in the process of introducing a monthly 2-bottle club. So you can choose, kind of those quantity levels. And then we also have for gifts, or if you just want to try us, or if you're a corporate member and you want to send, something to clients or to business partners, we have one-time purchase options available.
Oh, that's a great idea. Sending this to a client, they would love you to death.
Exactly. I can't tell you how many times as a professional businesswoman myself, I have thoughtfully been sent wine from salespeople, from vendors, from other businesses that we have a relationship with, and the intentions are great, but they've sent me bad wine.
Oh no. And does that kind of, you don't want it to, but it does a little bit detract from the message when you receive a gift?
It does.
Yeah.
It does. So I don't want people to accidentally be sending the bad wine just because they themselves are not super knowledgeable about wine. So I'm trying to take the guesswork out of it, whether it's wine for yourself, your friends, your family, or your business partners. I'm trying to give you access to really good quality wine that you don't have to think too hard about, that you're just happy to drink.
Well, I like where you're going with this so far. What's our third contender
So
here?
this is a super interesting grape, and I actually just learned about this. So this is Bacello. Hopefully I didn't butcher their name. I keep butchering it. It's Italian.
Bacello.
Yes, Bacello. They are fourth generation farmers. So on their label, they've had their ancestor moved onto their property in 1909, I believe, because on the label in the roots it says 1909.
You can see that. That's amazing.
And you would never see it until you were told. And then what they told me when I was there was that once you see it, you can't unsee it, and it's true.
Very true.
But the story, and hopefully I don't butcher this story, but the story behind this is, for a long time, for many years, they thought they were growing a grape called Gamay, which, and that's, typically grown in France in the Beaujolais region. And they referred to it for many, many years as Napa Valley Gamay. And then at some point they had the grapes tested, and they realized it's actually a very rare grape called Valdiguet. And
Interesting.
so this is the 2018. It's from St. Helena. It's estate grown. These are fourth generation winemakers that have been on their land since the early 1900s. But they are still small. Their case production is very small. They have a large farm, but for the most part, they sell most of their juice, and it's really good, high quality juice. They sell it to some of the other very well-known high-end winemakers that are selling you $300, $400, $500 bottles of wine made from that juice.
Wow.
And they're keeping a small portion for themselves.
And this grape is Valdiguet?
Valdiguet.
Valdiguet.
Yes.
I've never actually heard of that, so this is interesting.
Yeah.
I'm learning something.
Yeah, and so this one, so they have a 2018 and a 2019 vintage that are available right now. I chose to give you the 18 vintage. I'm obsessed with this one right now. I love them both, but they're very different. And if you put them side by side, I've done this a couple times recently. They're just so different. This one is going to have a lot of blue fruit, so like blueberry, baked blackberry.
Yes.
And it's going to have that stewed fruit.
Almost like a pie. Like
Yeah.
I always think of, especially if it's got a little bit of the mallow on it, you get a little bit of that crust, sort of
Yes,
the butter,
yes.
and then the baked fruit.
And some spices.
Love that,
Yeah.
yeah.
It definitely has some of the spice characteristic as well.
So does this remind you of Syrah in a way? Or
no.
Zinfandel? Or some of the California wines tend to go a little bit that baked pie thing
Yes,
I've gotten.
some of them do, and I do think that this could be compared a little bit to a Gamay or Syrah. It's definitely heavier than a Pinot and lighter than a Cab. So it's kind of in that family of
But it's in between the Pinot and the Cab. That's kind of a nice area to live, I would think. Yeah.
Exactly. But the flavor profile on this is just amazing right now.
What we should taste.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow, that is silky.
It's silky.
Silky in the way that usually I think of Pinot Noir as being silky. It has that feel on the tongue. That's
But it very much carries that interesting blue fruit flavor profile plus spice, some earth through to the end.
And the texture too is medium light. Actually, it's not as heavy as it looks.
Right. It's not.
It's a surprise.
No.
Yeah.
I would put it, definitely closer to a lighter Syrah or a Gamay. Which is why for many years they thought this was Gamay.
So interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. How many people have you actually met who know about this grape?
Only the people who make it.
Well, you could be one of the people who knows the secret, right?
Yeah. No.
That is really lovely.
The family that makes this wine, they're a beautiful family. They're just such nice people, and they're doing some amazing quality wines right now. And I'm happy to get the word out there and to get their name out there.
So let's talk about that, because it sounds like you really focus on the smaller, lesser-known producers that are just doing marvelous things that people otherwise would never know about. And you can probably get some, as we were talking about, very high-quality wine at not, the $400 price tag.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I've been a wine club member of those wineries, and I still am a wine club member of some of those wineries. But I am really trying to focus on the small case production. So it's not wine that is mass produced.
Mm-hmm.
It really has that true artisan style. Like, these are people that are passionate about their wine, and they're not trying to just, crank something out for a sale for like all day pool party. Right. Although some of it is good for that, but, but that's not the purpose. And it's really just sharing the stories and the history of the families, the winemakers, the Napa Valley and Sonoma Valleys, Santa Barbara area, Santa Rita Hills. All those AVAs just have such deep-rooted history.
No pun intended.
Right. Yes, because the vines do go deep. The vine roots go very deep. But they have such a history, and it can get lost a little bit sometimes in the commercialization. And you can definitely find really great wine at, Robert Mondavi. I've been to Robert Mondavi. It's a beautiful property. They make good wine. It's very high end. It's very expensive.
But it's going to be you and 300 other people.
Yeah, but that's not the wine that I'm trying to get out there. Everybody knows that name.
Right.
I'm trying to bring these wines, especially to people who are really interested in wine, whether you consider yourself knowledgeable or sort of new to wine, and you want to keep learning, as I once did, but you didn't know where to go. Or
have the time.
Yeah. Or have the fun. I'm fortunate to live relatively close and have the ability to travel to a lot of these places.
Right.
But I know most people can't do that or have the time to do that.
As much as we might want to.
Right.
And I think that's the beauty of a wine club such as yours, is that it lessens the pressure on you. If you want to find good wine, you want to serve good wine, you just want to drink good wine, but you want to gift it, and that kind of thing. And you just don't have the time to do all the research.
Yeah.
That's where you come in.
Definitely. And if you want to have access to the variety. So one of my big problems, and another reason why I started this and wanted to do this, is I have too many wine clubs.
Is that a problem?
It is a problem when you get up to 20 plus wine clubs. It becomes a financial burden, and then it becomes, you find yourself in this moment of indecision when you truly love all the wine, but you don't know
which one do I cut?
Yeah. So I want to give people one place to have a much wider access point to some of the wines that they might love and want to be a wine club member of. And I also encourage everyone, if you try one of these wines and you love them, by all means, become their wine club member. Yeah. If you want to have access to their wines consistently and buy only their wines, definitely go that route. But then if you want more variety, that's what I'm offering, is the variety.
That's great. Well, So speaking of variety, I think we've got 2 more wines to taste here, right?
Yes,
okay.
we do.
So we've got these 2. We'll move this one over here in focus.
So
what is this?
We have a 2020 Mazzacco Zinfandel. Sorry,
Zinfandel, right? That's this one, right?
It's a Dry Creek Valley Zinfandel. This is from Sonoma County. They make just beautiful expressions of Zinfandel. I found Mazzacco before I ever knew that I wanted to have a wine company. I found them probably 6-7 years ago, accidentally wine tasting with a friend who grew up in Healdsburg, California.
Not a bad place to grow up.
Not a bad place to grow up. And at that time, I didn't really like Zinfandel that much. And they make, I don't even know how many it is, but they make a very large quantity of single varietal Zinfandels. So the case production of each one is small, but they make something like 20 plus different Zinfandels.
I had no idea you could even do 20 different Zinfandels.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, because every plot of soil where you have the grapes planted, that is going to produce a different expression of wine. And
of course,
in Europe, sometimes some winemakers have 1 or 2 rows of a vineyard, and they make their wine out of 1 or 2 rows, and their wine tastes different from their neighbors' 1 or 2 rows, and their other neighbors' 1 or 2 rows. So that's the beauty of terroir, what they call
Yes.
terroir.
I was just going to say that.
Yes.
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 So, this is lovely.
Yes, so Zinfandel, so it's going to have a little bit more spicy notes.
Mm-hmm. And it's quite dark.
It's quite dark, yep.
Oh, wow, that jumps out of the glass. That's
Yeah.
like, woo.
Yeah, you don't have to. You don't have to.
Yeah, you don't have to, like,
smell
submerge.
long. No, you really just kind of breeze it on by, and you can smell.
Oh, that's beautiful, though.
Yeah. Again, it's got the earth, the spice, but really bright primary fruit notes as well that balances it.
But then a nice, like, slight butteriness to kind of round it out.
That's the
kinda
oak.
smooth the edges.
Yeah. Yep. There's definitely some oak aging that's balancing out the acid and the tannin.
So I love that you've discovered all these unique small wineries, and I'm guessing that's what makes your wine club different from other ones.
Yes. Because one, I'm passionate about wine. I'm passionate about high quality. Anyone who knows me, it's a running joke with my friends about my expensive taste. But I am trying to find the basically the Chanel quality, but at price points that we can all somewhat afford. We don't want to drink a $500 bottle of wine with dinner every Tuesday night.
We might want to. We might not be able to.
Exactly. But I am a stickler for quality, no matter the price point. So, and because these are micro wine producers, because they're family owned and they're not huge commercial productions, they can put out an excellent quality product that rivals some of the top larger players for a better price.
So this sounds like we've learned the secret. Like, this is the in that we wanted to get if you like wine.
Yes, yes, definitely. And there are a lot of folks on the internet who are just taking that bulk juice, slapping different labels on pretty much the same juice and calling it a different name, and it's terrible. And I just don't want people to be fooled by that.
And I think that's what I've seen in some of the wine subscriptions.
Yes.
Like, it's all these places you've never heard of.
Yes.
And you get the wine, you think, oh, well, these people know what they're talking about, blah, blah, blah. You'll take a chance.
Nope.
And it's just not good.
Well, and some of them even go so far as creating different cookie cutter websites for each label, trying to trick consumers into thinking that these are actual wine labels and that they are doing what I'm doing and sourcing the wines from different vineyards and different winemakers, when in fact it's all bulk juice that they are sourcing and bottling themselves under different labels. And then they are really trying to pull the wool over consumers' eyes. And the prices are cheap. The prices are cheap.
Well, they should be.
But
but still,
when you're pouring it down the drain, which I have because I've ordered them, I've ordered many of them, and I've literally poured them down the drain.
Oh.
So when you're doing that, I don't care how cheap it is, so you're flushing money down the toilet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're not able to enjoy it.
You're not able to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want something that you're going to enjoy and that you're going to love. Yeah. And you might, as everybody continues along their own wine journeys, that's another thing that the variety brings to people, is the ability to taste through and discover new things without necessarily the commitment to saying, oh, I always want that cab, or I always want that Zinfandel. Maybe you don't even know if you like Zinfandel.
That's what I was going to ask you. How do people know what they like? Like, do you help them on that?
Yes. So we have a quiz that they can take on the website. And it was designed by me to give me a general idea of what palate profile people are at in their stage of wine journey. And so from that, I can basically develop a box that you should enjoy, and that maybe it'll stretch you a little bit, it'll show you something new, but it'll be something that falls in line with what you generally like.
Oh, that's lovely. And I think people have heard about, like, getting a bad bottle, a corked bottle. Yeah. Like, is that really an issue? Like, what happens if you get one that's bad? Yeah,
so a true corked bottle is very rare. I have been drinking a lot of wine over the years. I've never had a corked bottle. I've actually wanted to get one just so that I knew. without reading it in a textbook,
right.
what it actually tasted and smelled like outside of the textbook description.
So it's that rare?
It's that rare.
Wow.
When you're in the wineries and you're doing, like the winemakers that I'm talking to, they've all seen corked bottles, but they are, smelling and going through thousands
and thousands
of bottles of wine. So while I say I've had a lot over the years, it's not to that level.
So that brings up an interesting point. How should we be storing our wine? Like, are there other ways wine goes bad?
Yes. So if you don't store it properly, it doesn't mean that the wine is corked. It just means that it went bad because you didn't store it properly. So once the wine is in the bottle, heat is not a friend to the wine.
So don't leave it in the car when you're out at the next winery in Napa and it's like 85 degrees out.
Do not leave it in the car. Do not leave it in your sunroom exposed to direct sunlight. It needs to be stored in a wine refrigerator at cellar temperature. And cellar temperature is anywhere from about 53-ish degrees to like 64-ish degrees. In that 10-degree range, basically.
Okay.
I keep mine usually right at about 56. And for both reds and whites, a lot of wine refrigerators are sold with like dual zone temperature.
Right.
Champagne and some sparkling wines do need to be served colder, but those you put on ice.
Right.
So I store them in the wine refrigerator at cellar temperature, and then when I'm ready to consume them, I put them on ice for a few hours, and then they're fine. White wine in particular, rosé, I like to drink it at cellar temperature.
Yeah, you get more flavor, right? When it's a little warmer. Sometimes if a wine is served too cold, I put my hands around it like, you're usually not supposed to do that, but you want to warm it up when it's too cold.
If the wine is served to you too cold, you won't be able to pick out all those characteristics.
Right.
So don't drink your white wine too cold. Unless it's a hot summer day and you're next to the pool, and then maybe, drink your Sauvignon Blanc a little colder.
Right. Well, we have one more before we go.
Yes.
So what is this one?
So this is a Napa Valley Cabernet. So I would be remiss if I did not showcase a Napa Valley St. Helena Cabernet Sauvignon from Bocello.
The winery,
the same one who makes the Val de Gay variety. This is just a great expression of Cabernet at a affordable price point that is, in my opinion, going to rival and stand up to bottles that go for twice its price.
Wow, and that's a nice thing to get. See, to me, that's the beauty of someone like you, who has the knowledge and the expertise and is really taking the time, because they've made it their business as well as their passion, to where I don't have to do that. I don't have to take hours out of my day to find that like exquisite bottle that's like drinking way above its price.
Right, exactly. And if you know anything about Napa Valley Cab, you know that it is expensive.
Yes.
But no, this is really just lovely.
Can I just say, you do not disappoint.
Thank you.
Amazing.
No, this cab is, to me, it's so well balanced.
That is amazing.
It definitely has all the cab characteristics. That it has that deep, dark minerality. It has some primary fruit, but really it has that earth, that spice. It has a little bit of green pepper, which is a chemical called methoxypyrazine. And
only a sommelier would know that.
Or just a wine geek.
Right. So, okay, I'm kind of sold here. Tell me more about how we join the wine club. Like, is it a subscription thing? Like, how does this work?
Yeah, so just go to my website. It's www.coastlinewine.com. And then you can choose a one-time purchase. If you want to give it a try and you don't want to commit, totally fine. You'll pay $9 more or something like that for your box. If you want a little bit of a discount, join the quarterly subscription. I will be introducing a 2-bottle subscription imminently within the next few weeks, maybe even by the time this is aired. There might be a 2-bottle subscription option. So just give us a try. Place your order on the website. I have contact information on the website. You can email, And if you have questions, if you don't know how to answer the quiz and you want to email me, I'm happy to respond.
Oh, well, thank you so much. You are so personable and just like so giving with your knowledge. We really love that because wine is one of those things that I think is a little bit imposing to people. You know, it makes them a little bit nervous because they want to feel like they know what they're doing.
Yeah. And I can see that. And I think over the years, I have definitely been in situations where I felt nervous, I felt intimidated, like I didn't know enough. And I work in corporate finance as my day job. So I'm used to talking to people who know everything about things and sounding confident. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to go to wine school too, was because I wanted to be as knowledgeable as everyone else. Right. And I want to share that knowledge with everyone. That's my passion.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. I think you've given us all a lot of wonderful knowledge and a lot of great ideas and a marvelous way to source high quality wine at not a high quality price.
Well, I always like to say, don't drink bulk wine, and happy drinking.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you so much for joining us today on the OC Business Update. I hope you enjoyed the show. I'm Kira Gurnee, and we'll see you next time.